I guess is what it is.
Here we go. Absolutely.
Great.
Greetings,
Okay.
everyone. I am here doing a wonderful interview from the post January mission trip in 2023. I've got Dr. Anna here with me, and this is the most you're going to hear from me. So, our good doctor is going to kind of give us a little backstory. How in the world did Tom and Kathy and Sarabu get on her radar? How this is not her first mission, although it is to Sarabu, and really just take us on a quick tour of maybe some close moments, some things that you'll never forget, as far as you can tell from now. I've got a little show and tell we'll get into, but I state your name, introduce yourself, Doc, and take us with the backstory and on a tour to Sarabu. Go ahead.
All right. Hi, I'm Anna Fakadej. I am an ophthalmologist in Southern Pines, North Carolina. My primary area of expertise is cataract surgery. And as you alluded to, I've been on several mission trips throughout the world: India, Ethiopia, Honduras. I think it was in Zimbabwe years ago. Most of the missions I've been on have been me just going with a group that is somewhat organized to a place. Sometimes it's in a hospital, sometimes it's in a very rural community, sometimes it's in a clinic. A lot of times these mission trips are somewhat chaotic. They are always exciting, but there is some stress that goes along with that. Going to a new country, you don't know the language. You're not sure if you're going to have the equipment or the staff or the instruments that you might need. And I've gotten into the habit of bringing a lot of things with me so that I can be successful for whatever group of people that I'm going with. I first found out about Dr. Kathy and Tom through a friend, Lloyd Williams, who is an ophthalmologist at Duke University, which is about an hour north of where I live. And we met through the industries, and he is heavily into mission work. And he suggested, knowing my personality, that I reach out to Tom and Kathy about their mission in Sarabu, which is in a very remote part of Africa. And I've operated in very remote places, so I didn't have any problem with that. So I reached out by email. Tom was very responsive. Got on a couple of calls with Tom and Kathy, and this was probably 3 or 4 months prior to me going. And what I noticed right from the start was Tom and Kathy, first of all, they're just a team. I mean, Kathy's got the medical expertise, Tom's got the organization management skills. And just from the phone calls, I could tell that I was going to be going to a very well-run, very well-managed clinic. I hadn't seen it other than pictures and website kind of thing, but I already knew that I was going to be going to a place that was going to be a little bit different than places that I've been before.
Hey, Doc, while you're talking, we're going to do a little show and tell as you continue your story.
Yeah. Sure,
so
sure.
I'm gonna share some pics, and coming right up. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, Kathy and Tom basically started this 20 years ago. You know the story. They rolled up their sleeves, and out of really just mud, they built this beautiful Southern Eye mission in Sarabu, this very remote little village, no electricity, no running water. And you can see this is the operating room. This is very modern equipment. We are doing modern surgery here. You can see there's even a video on this microscope, which I've worked in many places, hospitals. Sometimes the microscopes are decrepit. The instruments are not well kept. But this operating room theater has 3 bays, if you will. So up to 3 surgeons can be working at one time. And so it's very collegial atmosphere. And that I really liked because I've also been in the operating room all by myself with staff that is from whatever country I am. And while they are wonderful people, it is nice to have a collegial atmosphere of medical staff and surgeons in particular. So you can see this was Mabel, my assistant, my surgical assistant. One of the things I really loved about Mabel, she was not an experienced surgical technician, but she just, like many of the people in the clinic and the mission, you just ask her to do something. She's like, okay, I'll be happy to do this. There was an air of everyone is in this together, which was also really refreshing to me. The mission really has a community spirit, and all the folks that are involved with the mission, whether they actually work in the operating room or their support staff in the sterilization or in the clinic, the staffing is fantastic. So, just a word also about Tom and Kathy. As you know, their mission is infused with this deep sense of love and respect for this community, Sarabu. And they have a strong faith that is the backbone of this clinic. And everything they do for Sarabu is with respect and love for their culture, but also it is doing God's will. And I kept having this thought when I was there, this over and over thought about Kathy and Tom. When God asks, whom shall I send? They just answer, yes, send me. I'm there. I'm happy to do it. And that is, that is why this is a successful mission. Here's a picture of the OR staff that was there when I was there. And you can see there's folks that are from Sarabu who manage the clinic kind of when Kathy and Tom are not there. So there are people that are supportive for surgeons who might want to come when Kathy and Tom are not there. And the instrumentations and the microscopes and the support staff is there for a surgeon who wants to come independently. I was there with a couple of a resident and a fellow from Wills Eye, which has a collaborative mission with Southern Eye. So it was pretty exciting. We got to I think we did over 475 surgical cases, which is just a huge amount of procedures. I think they saw over 2,200 patients in the clinic. So the clinic was being run by support staff, and then the operative area was being run with the surgeons and the support staff that was there. So this is a sort of a self-sustaining mission. This is not one where you drop in, do a bunch of surgery and leave. You do have people behind and on the ground that can follow these patients after you're gone, which is really, for a surgeon, I always felt a little bit nervous about what was going to happen to folks after we left. As you can see, this is one of the clinic pictures. Kathy is very hands-on, and we had an interpreter. This is an excellent piece of equipment, what's called a slit lamp. And again, very modern equipment. The clinic runs on generator power, and there are two of them. So you have a backup for a backup, which is, again, not very common when you're in the bush. Sometimes you have a generator that works, sometimes you don't. But Kathy and Tom have really created a mission that is really unprecedented in my experience for taking care of people in an extremely rural place, but delivering quality medical surgical care. So we had plenty of eye drops. We had plenty of medications that we needed for patients as well. So, I think
here's another pic for you here, Doc, as we're going on. Thank you. We're so far so great. So coming right up. Go ahead.
I can't see the new one, but I wanted to also, this is a picture of the church choir And this is in the sort of common area. And you can see there's a beautiful painting, wall painting of the Last Supper. And this painting, I love this painting. First of all, of course, it's the Last Supper, an homage to Leonardo da Vinci. But this was painted by the son of a patient of Dr. Kathy's. And the patient happens to be Muslim. And he painted this beautiful wall painting. And it is every day a reminder of kind of why are we here? We are here to do God's work, and we are here to serve. And I have to say, Kathy and Tom, their whole mission is to, wherever they go, elevate the people and the care to anyone they meet, whether they're doing surgery or taking care of them medically, or they're just meeting them on the street. They really have a lifting effect on people. I have to say, I felt very lifted when I got back to the States. Sometimes I feel exhausted after these trips. It's very gratifying, and I love going abroad and doing cataract surgery and helping people see again, because it's such an important sense for people to have. When you can't see, you can't function, and that really interferes with your ability to make a living, take care of your family, and usually another family member has to take care of you. So it really is impactful when you can improve somebody's vision. And Tom and Kathy take care of the vision part but also the soul and the heart. And when I got back to the country, this time to the States, I was very uplifted, exhausted, but it was like, wow, this time, this is a great mission that we did a lot of surgery, took care of a lot of people, but it was just an uplifting for my soul as well, as the patients. This is one of the community building activities they had. We just happened to be there on a weekend that they had a lot of sports activities. This was a marathon that they had. So it was an 8-mile run for men, and I think it was 3 miles for women. And this was local villages, each had a mascot runner, and this was the race, and we got some pictures of the runners. But it was exciting. The entire community came out to see these guys run and gals run. A little later in the day, we had a soccer match, and the soccer match was played, I think it was the finals between 2 girl teams, which is really lovely to see. And the story behind the field where they had the soccer match was during the Civil War in Sierra Leone. This field was where they would sometimes line people up and execute them during the Civil War. It was kind of known as a killing field. But this field has now become an area where there's a lot of love and socialization, and it's really been a very healing reformation of this particular plot of land. I think they had some social activities where they, we would call it a tug of war, a little rope and so on, and 2 teams tugging on it. Well, they call it a tug of peace, which I just love. And it was done on the same field. So these folks in Sierra Leone have been able to rise above an awful, awful time. It's really a testimony to human spirit. And I do think having Kathy and Tom there definitely helped, but they also, the folks there also rose above all this awful time and the Civil War. It was just the whole social weekend was kind of fun to be around. And I had never been in a situation where, again, usually when I go on a mission, I'm very focused in the operating room, but this was much bigger than that. It was a community building mission. And that's the difference between this mission and another mission. So I think if surgeons are looking for a place to go and make an impact, but a lasting impact, this is a great place to go. All the equipment and instruments and staff are there. You have people that are going to follow your patients, and you get to work with this, group of people that's, just amazing. So this was outside the church. This is the lovely priest. Tom and Kathy and I, and Thomas, the young man in the center there with the glasses, we would go to Mass. We would say our morning prayers and then go to Mass in the morning. And that, for me, enriched the experience. For me, that was just lovely. And the Mass would start in the dark. The church, of course, doesn't have electricity, right? It has some candles, but it doesn't have electricity. So as the sun was rising, we would be hearing Mass, and then we would come out and start our day, and then spend 10, 12 hours, and then, kind of go to bed. It was really, again, it was part of the whole experience, and for me, enriching it.
All right, Doc, I got one more pic that to share that you'd sent. I know this picture spoke to you a little bit, and I can't thank you enough for your time today. Let me share this, and then any other thoughts of why you think someone should go on mission. And I really appreciate your time today. Here's the one here. Go ahead.
So this is the computer center. So I think I talked a little about, they've got the medical mission, which was the first tug and really why they went to Sarabu in the first place. And that is, kind of on, well, I won't say autopilot, but it definitely is well managed and well staffed. They've also had an impact on the community and cultural building. And don't get me wrong, the Sierra Leoneans have a beautiful culture, beautiful heart. But it's also nice to have this community activities and so on. And then this is the computer center, which is in its little toddler stage, I'll put it. This was put together with two, I think, shipping cartons. I'm talking about the ones on the ships that are metal, and Tom kind of welded these two shipping containers together and created a building for computers. And the idea was to bring computers to Sarabu. And, they don't have internet because they don't have electricity quite yet. But it's coming. Of course, the internet will come to all places. And Tom and Kathy are kind of forward thinking in this, in preparing this community to be able to handle computer capabilities, but also preparing the younger folks in this village for perhaps other jobs that may be a better paying. So the mission is far reaching, but to specifically come back to the question of why go, Kathy said to me, and it'll stick with me. We were operating on very difficult cases. These were probably the most difficult cases I've ever operated on, and I've personally done about 50,000 cataract surgeries. So it's not like I haven't seen some hard cases, but these cases were all patients that had been blind for 10 to 20 years, blind and not being able to see anything. Those cases are very, very difficult. We had the equipment, we had the staff to be able to handle these, but they would be more complex to handle. And Kathy looked at me and she said, there were a couple that I thought even I was going to have some trouble. And she looked at me and she said, do your best, because if you don't, there's no one else coming. And I thought about that. And I thought, why? We have an obligation. We have talents. We have gifts. And we need to give these gifts. They are not ours. They are for us to give and serve. So if you have a chance to go somewhere and get out of your comfort zone, which takes a little bit of courage to go to these places, this is a place which will be welcoming and will allow you to get into mission work and in a very easy way. I have to say it was one of the most well organized, like I said in the beginning, well organized, well staffed, well equipment that I've ever been on. And because of that, it was a very successful mission for all of us, just the surgeons, the doctors, the staff, and most importantly, the patients. So
Well,
I would invite anybody to go back. I was planning to go back in January anyway.
There is a trip planned in June if you want to experience in just by being hands and feet around the village. If you would like to talk to Dr. Anna personally, just reach out to us through the contact information. She is a complete ambassador for Sarabu now, and we're so happy to have listened to today's virtual trip with you, Doc. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for inviting me to talk. I would be happy to speak with any of you who are interested in going, whether you're surgical or staff or support. There's a place for all of you. So God bless you. And thank you. So nice to meet you.
Yeah, maybe you can bring your own posse with you next time, Doc. That would be great.
Actually, it's funny. I've had a lot of people will ask me when I say I'm going on a mission. I'll say, I'm going on this, and a lot of people will say, "Oh yeah, I'll come with you. I'll come." And most of the time, I end up going by myself, hopping on with a group, but from where I am. When I got back from this one, I guess maybe I had a different, maybe I had more color in my face or something like that, or was more enthusiastic. I had a lot of people say, "Well, we'll go. We'll go as a team." I was like, "All right, well, let's try and put that together."
So it sounds like Doc's joy meter got turned up a whole bunch, and they detected it. So
and now I love doing missions anyway, but yeah, and honestly, I'm kind of like this on a daily basis with even my regular cataract surgery patients. So yeah, sometimes it's a little too much for some people.
No, the world needs more joy-filled doctors. And thank you so much. And we look forward to hearing your story after you return. I'll be here to interview. And thanks again, Doc. Take care. Yeah.